Hello, hello. I'm here to teach oil painting tricks. Fresh out of the 24-hour challenge, I had a nice nap, ate a bunch of food, and I'm ready to get back at it. I really enjoyed the stream that I did during the 24-hour challenge, so I figured I'd do a short stream just to say what's up to you guys because I had a lot of fun the other day, and I realized that you guys are friends and nice and make me feel like I have purpose in this life. But anyway, for those of you, is the screen supposed to be black? Uh-oh, is the screen black? Ooh. Guys, is the screen black? Does the screen look black for anybody else? I think that might be a you problem if the screen is currently black. Unfortunately. Yeah, it might be the phone. Anyway, I'll give you guys a little tour. Before we were at Churdley's house, and I paint a lot at Churdley's house because I like, especially my larger paintings. It's kind of windy here in LA, but this is where I paint. This is my house. So, look, where do you buy my art? If you want to buy these paintings, a lot of them are actually for sale. I'm really bad at advertising them, so I don't really have like a website per se or like a gallery or anything of that nature. But if you DM me, I have several works from 2018 that are available to be sold at a good price. But anyway, so I don't plan on having yes, my email is just paintingwithbrooks@gmail.com. So you can hit me up on there if you would like. Also, this is one that I'm currently working on, David Alvarez. Can you please paint first? Actually, that's very funny because I was planning on painting. If you saw that cat video that I did the other day, I was planning on painting the guy who is the furry in that. I think that would be pretty funny, actually. But what I do paint are pets. Yeah, send me some music. I can't promise I'll listen to it. I'm very busy, but maybe I will. You never know. Sometimes I do. But yeah, so I do pet portraits. And there's one that I'm working on. If you or a loved one ever needs a pet portrait, they're pretty reasonably priced, although I think they are going up pretty soon because of demand. I'm just kidding, guys. There's no demand. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and show you a trick for anyone that is an oil painter here. And if you're not an oil painter, I hope that you become an oil painter very soon because it's just the greatest way to live your life, to be an oil painter. And if you are, then what you'll need, yeah, art is my full-time job. That's why I'm so poor. No, but I'm rich in happiness. No, I'll make money eventually. That's why I started this YouTube channel, to reach out and try to connect, because I'm not very good at like advertising myself. Like I love my friends, and I have a lot of friends that do a lot of cool things, and I like to surround myself by creative types. But when it comes to advertising myself, I'm very bad about that. So yes, exactly. I don't care about money. Yeah, I did actually. I slept. I took a 6-hour nap. I'll have you know. I ate quite a bit of what are those nuts called? Pistachios. I had a bunch of pistachios and some egg rolls. Now I'm back at it. Although maybe we should perpetuate the rumor that I haven't slept, so people think I'm totally insane. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I'm gonna continue showing you this technique until people ask me questions. Yo, what up, Shaw? Because if someone asks me a question, I have no choice but to answer it for the next 35 minutes or however long I am doing this. I just really wanted to start the stream up again. Who knows? I might just stream like so many times all the time. It's fun as heck. I figured that out the other day. But I want to keep my streams interesting. That's why I'm thinking like this time I'm going to show painting techniques. Other times I might like play games or do certain things where you guys will have a chance to win drawings and stuff like that. What did you do before you decided you wanted to be? Did you want to do before you decided you wanted to be an artist? I used to want to be a writer, a creative writer that did fantasy stories. So I've written a lot of fantasy stories, and if you've watched my YouTube series, there's a lot written behind, like super like so much written and so much history, like, or obviously not real history, but there's a lot of depth to the episodes that no one really actually understands because I've written out everything. I was a dungeon master. I'm a very good dungeon master. Unfortunately, I have not been able to host a campaign in some time because I'm so busy. I'm trying to, actually, you guys will find this interesting. I would really like, I think, a good idea. I'm going to do with Austin, Archangel Austin, and a bunch of other influencers. I wrote out a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which is all based around like web creators, like content creators, for instance, like Sir Spence, Blake Rozier, people like that, to come on and do an online stream, a D&D stream, where people can donate to the stream to affect what happens in the world. So I've been writing out this game, and I wanted to, it's not ready, it's in its like very preliminary phases, so the campaign's written out, but it's rules as far as it goes if anyone's played Dungeons and Dragons, but have not actually tried to put any of it into motion. So no one stole that idea. Yeah, no, it'll be really cool because, you know, it'll be, and there will always be, because I'll obviously, as a dungeon master, I'll play the NPCs and I'll also roll for the guest characters because I always want there to be, I don't like to run character campaigns that have more than 5 people in it, so I'll always leave an extra space of somebody so that you can have guest characters. Like, for instance, Trevor Wallace like wants to come in and do a guest spot. He's not going to be part of the campaign. I can't trust someone that's that successful to always be there all the time. But I think that if there's a guest spot available, then someone will be able to come in. It is nerdy. I'm a huge nerd. Anyway, so I'm going to try to show you the secret technique. Now, when I paint, I use a silicoil jar. And what this is let me show you the inside of it. Essentially, it is a jar with paint thinner, and inside the paint thinner sinks down to the bottom, or the paint sinks down to the bottom underneath that silicoil jar. And so every paint that you use all together, all the paints, say you have a specific kinds of colors that you like to use, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, whatever. That all mixes together down at the bottom of your silicoil jar, and it creates what's called a turret. Now, the turret is a major combination of pretty much every color that you use that's sunk down to the very bottom of the silicoil jar. But the thing with a turret is it ends up looking very like grayish brown. But depending on the colors you use, like every artist that really has their own practice is they use different colors. Everyone finds colors that work for them a certain way. So I have it's like a Pokemon party. You choose, you know, specific Pokemon that you like the same way with colors. I have a set palette that I love to use. Every now and again I'll experiment and go with some legendary colors, but for the most part I have the colors that I feel comfortable with, though it is good to experiment. But anyway, the colors that you mainly use and the stuff that mixes inside your silicoil jar, underneath that, all of the paint pigment that mixes underneath the coil is your turret. And so what you want to do for this secret trick is get your turret out. And the reason that you want to do that is because your base turret is really good for priming the surface of another canvas. Now, if you look at a lot of canvases, like when you first buy them from the store, you'll notice they have a very sort of, like, you can see the canvas, the surface, the tooth. It's terrible. I think it's very bad. There's no interest to the surface. But if you look at my paintings, which you can't really tell from photographs, but hold on, let me show you really quickly. I'll switch this around. Come on. If you look at my paintings and you see the surface, come on, focus. You see that the surface itself, you don't see any canvas on that surface whatsoever. You don't see a canvas texture at all. You see just the paint and paint layered on top of each other. All right. Yeah, like I said, a lot of you guys probably aren't big into oil painting, but this is also an AMA, so if you want to ask me any questions, feel free to do that as well. If you want to know what I ate after I woke up from my 6-hour nap, it was pistachios. Very interesting, I know. Anyway, Dan Brooks, you're already back on the stream. Do you have any tips on how to stay up during those long projects? Yeah, so Baja Blast for starters is what I did, and then later on, around like 3 or so, I took 20 milligrams of Adderall. I'm prescribed it, so. But the reason I don't like to take a lot of Adderall when I paint is because it makes me focused. It makes me like hyper focused on areas that I shouldn't be focused on. And if you'll notice later on in the stream, I ended up getting very focused on the jaw, and I think that was because I took the Adderall. So that was my mistake. I shouldn't take it while I paint, but I was so freaking tired. All right. No, I was looking through some of the comments, and people were like, oh, he's so blissed right now. But I wasn't at all until the very end. But just the way that I am, I don't know. I seem pretty cracked out all the time. I'll be the first to admit it. Anyway, so I took the Silicoil jar out. And now that the Silicoil is out of the jar, go ahead and pour the remaining, they thought meth bubby. No, although I did used to date a porn star and I broke up with her because she smoked meth. That was bad. Although essentially Adderall basically is meth. So, you know, a couple different molecules away or whatever. So, whatever, it's like, come on guys. But no, there's something so disgusting about meth. Like when I dated her, I was in a really, really dark place. And there's a Danny Mullen podcast with her on it. But just like looking over and seeing someone just like smoking meth, it's like terrible. I would never wish it upon anybody. But she was pretty hot at first, but then it just got dark. All right. Let's see. And his first-hand meth is so ugly and nasty. I don't know too much about meth, although I've never smoked it, but I did snort it one time, but I didn't like it. It was basically like Adderall, but worse. Okay. Now, let me show you guys the inside. I was talking earlier about turret, all the colors mixed together. That is my turret. I poured out all of the thinner, and I took out the coil, and everything underneath, that is all the colors that I've mixed together. That's my turret. And so, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and it's going to create this very gross, gray, gunky color. But that's okay, because I'm not going to use it in an actual painting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to prime the surface of a painting, because once this dries, it has a very, very nice thirsty tooth to it, and it's extremely helpful if you want to paint on top of it. I was talking before, I don't know if anyone here is familiar, but fat over lean. And when you're oil painting, it's very important to understand that when you think fat over lean, yes, the escort girl, yes. When you think fat over lean, I was explaining yesterday, you think, oh, thick is fat, right? That's not true. Oil paint is bound by linseed oil, safflower oil, some kind of oil. So when it's fat over lean, the fat is referring to the oil. Paint thinner gets rid of the binder or the oil, and all that you're left with is the pigment. So basically what your turret is underneath the Gamsol, it's just pigment that you can place down on top of a surface, and I'm going to do it right now. And then once it dries, it has a very, very nice thirsty tooth. And when I say thirsty tooth, I mean it's ready to soak up the paint. The paint glides across it like butter, for anyone that cares. I get very excited about paint. Probably too excited. Yes. I get very excited about stuff like paint, art history. Oh my gosh. When I was in Vegas the other, I guess it was only a week ago, oh my God, I was so drunk, and I would not stop talking about Van Gogh, because I'm a huge, I know so much about Van Gogh. It's insane. He's one of my favorite artists, if not my favorite artist. and I was just like not, and the only person who would listen to me and was actually interested was Mia, Danny's girlfriend. She was the only one that was like, I'm like, oh, I should stop talking about this. I want to stop talking about Van Gogh. And she's like, no, I'm interested. And I was like, I can't tell if she's being facetious, but she's not. She's a very, very nice person. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking the turret here, and I'm going to pour it, I'll show you, onto the surface. Actually, hold on. Yeah, enjoy looking at whatever that is really quickly. All right, so here we have just this blank surface. I'm going to prime it with my turret, which is the combination of all the colors that I normally use, mixed together, sunk down to the bottom of the silicoil jar. I remove the silicoil jar, and this is all that remains because I poured out the paint thinner, mixed it up. So now it looks like a big gross mud stain on there, right? Wrong. It's more than that. That's where the handy dandy palette knife comes into play. Now, palette knives are great because Cengiz isn't the tour. Oh, yeah. No, I went to sleep, Cengiz. Don't worry. This is me coming back and doing helpful tips. I really enjoyed. This is going to be very short. I doubt it'll last more than 15 more minutes, but I like the fact that I can just hang out with a group of people like anytime when I'm lonely. It's awesome. I didn't even realize that's what streams were. No, I'm not. I think what Banksy did for the art world is very important and visionary, and I respect him as an artist, but I'm not particularly into just street art in general, because I like philosophically, there's a difference between creating a mural, you're creating a place. You know, when you make a mural, that is a place, whereas a painting is an object, and I like the philosophy of an object. You know, like, for instance, a lot of people, I say blood and oil on panel, and people are like, the blood's on the back of the panel. That doesn't count. You should just say oil on panel. It's like, no, because when I think of a painting, I'm not just thinking about the front of the painting. The painting has sides, and the painting has a back. And so, if blood is on the object, then I consider that to be part of the painting. So looking at the painting as an object is a huge part of my process. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start scraping my turret across. And you'll notice a lot of times you're going to get chunky chunks in there, but that's okay. If you want the texture, you can keep it in there, or you can just go ahead, yes, literally blood, sweat, and tears, or you can scrape it off the side. I'm going to scrape it off the side, but some people, for instance, if you're thinking sculpturally, like if you want to build up some rocks or layers like that, you can't just objectify your Cengiz. Shut up. I love you, though. I'll objectify my paintings if I want. Gosh dang it. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to be showing you guys some real oil painting secrets here for anyone that cares to know. Because after I do the turret, can I see with my mind's eye? No, that's bullshit. No one can. I'm just kidding. Maybe the Dalai Lama can. All right. So, I'm going around. And when you use a palette knife, especially palette knives like this, it's very similar to how you would you spread butter across the surface of bread or whatever. If you're spreading something across the surface, so you want to think about the angle. For instance, if you're going like this, almost perpendicular to the surface, then you're going to get a nice scrape, and you're going to move it across the surface, like so. But if you're more parallel, then you can start to think of it almost as a stamp. So check this out. The pet portraits generally right now, are around 600. They were 400, but they went up in price. Although I can do no background pet portrait for 420, just because I think that's funny. I am very immature. I'm going in there, rub it all around. like so. If you guys have any pressing questions, you better get them out now, because the stream's only gonna last like 10 more minutes. You thinking about a website at all? Oh, I used to have a website, and then I realized that I didn't care, and that Instagram basically is how I got all of my business. I know websites are more professional, but once I decided the art world was bullshit, I gave up professionalism within the context of art. For instance, I used to own an art gallery for 5 years. We went to Art Basel. We did all different sorts of things. I know more about the art world and art history than most people would ever assume, because a lot of people that refute the art world in such a way are not educated about it. They don't know about the history of abstract painting. They'll look at, like, for instance, a lot of people are realistic painters, and that's all they've ever known. And they're always like, oh man, abstract painting, that's bullshit. I don't think that at all. In fact, I think everything in the art world has a place. But I also think the art world, especially nowadays, is completely full of bullshit. And that's only because I know it so well. But if you're going to hate something, you got to understand it. Or else you're just idiot. Ugh. Am I suicidal? Well, you know, it's not that I was like feeling suicidal per se. I just like, the death to me, it feels like it's such a poetic thing where I feel like if I were to die, then that would be okay. That's just the way it goes. Is there any artist that you really want to go in on? Is it Damien Hirst? Can you please weigh in on Damien Hirst by calling him a huge piece of trash? Well, you know, I think Damien Hirst is an interesting case of someone who has established or kind of carved out a corner for himself in the art world, where, you know, he's one of many artists like Jeff Koons, and even Warhol was one of the first to do this, where he doesn't touch a single piece of his art. It's all his assistants. There's really none of his hand in it. He's doing it as it's art as business. But and the concepts there, for instance, the piece which is called The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living. A lot of people have probably seen it but aren't aware that it was done by Damien Hirst. It's a gigantic great white shark suspended in formaldehyde, and it's supposed to just be a statement about how there's no way anyone would ever be able to comprehend death if you're alive. Although that might be the case, why is it that a gigantic shark in the middle of a fucking thing of formaldehyde represents that? And it doesn't. It's just kind of a douchebaggery artist move where you get something aesthetically pleasing and then you give it value that is superimposed and absolutely, completely unnecessary, and then you sell it for a shit ton of money. And that's what Damien Hirst does. And if anyone saw the documentary that he did on the sunken treasure ship, I forget what it's called, the wreck of the something. Maybe one of you guys knows, but that's kind of sums up the entirety of who Damien Hirst is, in my opinion. It's this entire documentary he created about finding a sunken ship, and then the entire thing was just a complete lie. It's just like, what a terrible person. But, you know, I stay informed on the art world. Also, well, what's the biggest commission you've ever done? Is this Imprimatur you're working on? No, this is I'm using Torque Gray that's mixed from the bottom of my silicoil jar, and I'm prepping a surface so that it has a tooth to it. And then the other question, hold on, let me go back and see what it was, because I have very bad thoughts on suicide. I don't want to talk about suicide right now. Let's keep the topics a little bit lighthearted. If you want to talk about suicide, we'll do it privately. How about that? But yes, this is something I'm creating. Okay, the biggest commission I've ever done was I got $8,000 for it. It was a gigantic diptych of naked ladies inside of a warehouse. Who's my favorite artist? Van Gogh. Van Gogh. I have a Pintura trifecta. I would say Van Gogh, Picasso as well. Van Gogh, Picasso, and Matisse are my 3 favorite artists. And I like to I liken them to the Triforce. If anyone has ever played Legend of Zelda, the reason I do that is because each of them has a different trait the way I see it. Sorry, I'm shaking everything around here, but I'm about to do a secret technique, so get ready for this. Okay. But the reason I say that is because, yeah, Picasso, even though there is a song that says no one ever called Picasso an asshole, we all know Picasso was a fucking dick. Still, he made some of the best artwork around, and that is because he wasn't afraid to steal from other people. He wasn't afraid to do what he had to do to get to the top, to take ideas that weren't his own and make them better. And that's how he was able to work his way to the top. That's why I would say that in the sense of the Triforce, Picasso would be power. And then Matisse, wisdom. Matisse was a sweet man from all accounts that I can tell. Very, very highly intelligent. And he was able to take some of the most complex visual matter and simplify it. For instance, his piece, looking through a window on a summer afternoon, or I forget what it's called in French, but it's a very simple piece, which you just looking through this window, you see ships on the outside. It's extremely beautiful piece. Unfortunately, if you were to look outside of that window, exactly how he was looking at it, I guarantee you, it would, not only would it smell like complete shit, it would look terrible, it would be horrible. But the way that he painted it is so tasteful, so minimal, and the colors were so fresh that he gave it something. And it was through his intelligence that he was able to interpret it in that way. And then, so, yeah, he would be the Triforce of wisdom. And Van Gogh now, of course, would be courage. Because no one else... Yeah, Van Gogh did get his inspiration from woodblock prints of the Japanese artist. He was one of the original weebs. But originally, Van Gogh, he was... hold on, let me show you this really quickly. If I start talking about Van Gogh, I'm not going to stop, I promise you. All right, so now what I'm doing, I'm not going to get into Van Gogh right now. What's my favorite Legend of Zelda game? I mean, I'm a 90s kid, so I have Ocarina of Time all the way. Majora's Mask obviously is good, but I have a lot of anxiety, and the whole like this moon is coming down to kill you thing, just like I couldn't do it. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I was talking before about binders such as linseed oil and safflower oil. Any binder that binds the paint and pigment to create the paint, that can be sucked out with newsprint, or really any paper, but newsprint works best for me. You can also use paper towels, which gives it texture. But even though this is mostly paint thinner, there is still some binder left in it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this newsprint and I'm placing it upon the surface. And what that's going to do is not only will it speed up the oxidation by removing what's in the paint other than the pigment, but it will also give it a sort of, how do I describe this texture? I'm just going to show it to you because it's hard. It's almost porousy, but it's not, because it's irregular and uneven, but not in a way that's bad, because once you paint over top of it, you can create an even layer very easily. And it's because of the surface that it generates. So, hold on. Come on, get out of there. It's very hard sometimes to do things with just one hand. All right, so my next newsprint, lie that down there. Oh, no. We do not fucks with acrylic anymore. Acrylic is a very, very dishonorable medium. I mean, how did you and Danny Mullen meet? So I've been a Danny Mullen fan for a long time, since like 18K subs or something, and I paint a lot of people, and so no, trust me, there's a lot of insults that are hurled around at me that are way worse than that. And so basically, I was a Danny Mullen fan for a long time, and Charlize is a very good friend of mine. And so I saw that Danny Mullen followed Sherdley's, and I was like, no fucking way. And so I managed to convince Sherdley's to collaborate with Danny Mullen and was able to meet Danny through that. And then in proxy, I was able to help Danny with the Jesse Hiss video. I got a bunch of girls that were my friends to be in the Jesse Hiss video. And that's how I got my nickname too, Pussy Coordinator Brooks. I mean, it's better than being called Fan Brooks, that's for sure. What am I using to thin the paint? I like to use Gamsol because it's, as far as the price goes, it's nice and cheap. You know, if I was going real classic, because a lot of the times, like, Danny does not seem like a good dude. Danny, unbelievably, see, here's the thing about Danny. Danny, more than anything, puts his career before anything. He takes it so seriously. But he's a very, very good dude. Danny is one of the best people I know. And you wouldn't know that from the character or the way that he comes off. You know, he certainly panders to a specific demographic based on the character he plays. But at the same time, as a person, a real person, you wouldn't expect it. He's a very, very good guy. All right. And here we go. But you didn't hear it from me. But when I say that he puts his career first, sometimes he will make decisions based on that. So, for instance, he's made enemies with other YouTubers and other people who I won't name specifically because for certain videos, he wants to have those videos remain up, or he believes in what he did, or that's his art. It literally is his art. And so sometimes you gotta just stand by that. And if anyone's gonna stand by it, it's fucking Danny Mullen, that's for sure. So more so than anything, it's his career that drives him and the character he plays. Although it is as much a part of him as any other part of Danny is, that is not the whole of his personality. All right, so now look what I'm doing is, and you can use several layers of newsprint if you would like, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and slowly pull this off. Hey Brooks, is there an art project that you wanted to create but you just haven't been able to for whatever reason? I have an entire music album which is basically finished, and I would like to put that out. Who wins in a fight, Danny or Ryan the leader? Obviously Danny, although Ryan's a good fighter because he harnesses a lot of anger. But Danny is trained, and Ryan is not. But actually, Danny hasn't commented on this, but I'm very happy to announce that Danny and Ryan have smashed the beef. And, you know, Danny's a forgiving person. All it really had was just Ryan reaching out and talking to him, you know. But if you're going to try to... Whoa, let's go back to the music. Yeah, that's how I was able to introduce Danny to Ariel Pink, because I basically did this whole album that with Ariel. I was just hanging out at his house the other day. I mean, he's hanging. It's just really fucking terrible what happened to him, but it's very unfortunate, and he does not deserve it at all. For like, really, still. Whoa, delicious surface. Did I discover this trick on my own? It is actually something that I discovered on my own based on another trick. It's kind of a combination of something that I learned where you're able to print from one painting to another painting using newsprint. And the way that you do that is, for instance, say I've painted this face and it's kind of thick, and so I want to Ariel, all you have to do is watch Tucker Carlson, Ariel Pink, and you'll see Ariel got in big trouble because his entire fan base are liberals, and he decided to go to the Trump rally because he's a Trump supporter. He didn't storm the Capitol. He did nothing wrong. He was within his rights to protest based on his political opinion, but basically his album label dropped him. It's just bullshit. I'd rather not talk about it right now because it's going to get me mad. But back into the art technique, essentially... another trick, which I'll show you later on, is that, not today, but at some point, you can take an entire face, paint it out, and it doesn't have to be a face, it can be a flower, it can be anything, and then with some newsprint, you put it on, wait for a little bit, and then it'll soak up some of that paint, and then you can take that face and just like a stamp, you can print it another place on the painting or a different painting. And it takes a lot of practice to be able to know the way to do this that's going to work, because it is a difficult high level technique, I guess you could say. But once you understand it and get it and understand how the paint is working, then and this is really only something you can do with oil paint, but yeah, give it a shot. All right, I'm gonna need to take some more paint off of here, I think. But here, this is what you want to look for. You see that sort of matte surface? It's nice. It's almost dry. All right. I just want to know if you missed me last night. Certified thick. Always, dude. And another reason acrylic is inferior. Exactly. My passion from art stemmed from my grandfather is an artist, still to this day in New York, and so I always wanted to be an artist like him. All right, see, now look at that. Now, once you put oil on top of that, I'm telling you right now, it's going to fucking glide across it. The oil loves being painted on a surface like that as compared to, here, I'll zoom in. Sometimes in the backgrounds, no, I don't listen to any jam bands. You see that, you can see that there's a canvas tooth back there. And that's something I almost never do. But this painting was kind of a quick fire. I was feeling very inspired because a year prior to painting this, this is Brock, my friend. He does dubstep. Boogie T. Everyone listen to Boogie T. He's super. I mean, I don't like dubstep, but he makes me like dubstep. But anyway, for my birthday a year ago, Churdleys took me on this party cruise, and we went out and we partied with him, and I bought a painting before I knew anything about art. And it's like, dude, Shaw, get out of here. I'm unmodding you. I'm just kidding. It's fine, dude. Now you know. You won't make that mistake again. But yeah, I was just feeling the memories, and I wanted to go in and paint. And I should have gone in and really covered up that disgusting canvas texture. Because you look at some of my other paintings, you don't really see any canvas texture in there, do you? No. I would never. But apparently I would. All right. Now, oh yeah, so that's done just nicely. Oops. And all right, the second time it worked. Sometimes you'll need to put a couple of newsprints on just to get all of the mess around the turret soaked up properly. And there we are. So there's really nothing that I can do to convey the surface, because one thing that I like to, it's hard for people to grasp. If you've ever looked at my entire painting philosophy summed up in 2 words, the end. And so basically, I think that if you have a picture that you see on a phone, you can look at it and you're like, oh, wow, that's incredible. And then you see the picture in person and you're like, oh, this doesn't look the same at all. And the reason that is because light reflects off of objects. And so when you're looking at this painting, for instance, you're experiencing reflective light. And so reflective light is going to be experienced completely different than, for instance, if you're looking at it on the screen right now, like you're looking at this surface, that's radiant light because the light is coming from the screen. So you'll never truly be able to understand this surface. You feel like you can. You feel like you can see the Sistine Chapel, but until you're there, you're not really, you'll never be able to understand it. So I say if you are interested in doing oil painting, then this is definitely a technique that you should try out. But that's my spiel for today. And hold on, I'll turn it around real quickly. I love you guys. Yes. And if you're interested in commissions or paintings or anything, hit me up on my Instagram. And see you later. Bye-bye.